All right, next thing. We talked a little bit about Brock Purdy, and I see people in the chat saying, man, like, I'm confident in, Brock Purdy. He gives me that confidence. He gives me this and that. Well, it sounds like he kind of gives his teammates some confidence as well to who he is. So he was compared to a great, and I put it in the title, so this is no surprise. He's compared to Drew Brees. And Willie Snead, he has some things to say. So here goes the audio on that.
And lastly, what's your impression on a young guy like Brock Purdy?
Glock Purdy? Yeah, that's my guy, man. No, I love Brock, man. I remember when I first met him last year when I first came in. Humble kid, work ethic out of this world. It reminds me of young Drew. I tell him that all the time. But, he's just a really humble kid. He comes to work every day with the same mentality to get better. And just to be around a guy like that, it makes you want to come to work and make plays for your quarterback.
Well, I have to follow up on that. To compare him to a guy like Drew, what are those similarities? And is that something you're really serious about?
No, I mean, I told him last year, it's just something that I see in him. I've been around Drew for 3 years, and just the professionalism, the way he approaches the game, studying, comes to work every day, throwing after practice, taking practice reps serious, that just implements what Drew was. And that's why he was a Hall of Famer. So, it's a stretch to say that, but, I've been around that guy and I know what that guy does. And Brock has very similar, elements to his game. So it's happy to be around him, happy to be a part of this team.
I think when you hear something like that, right, from a player, we've heard the 49ers players say a lot of very good and positive things about Brock Purdy, but it just kind of lets you know, like, hey, man, like, this is heading in the right direction. And we're still very young and youthful in the, I don't even want to call it experiment, but just kind of turning the page with Brock Purdy and this team. And it's kind of still, for me, hard to wrap my brain around, even though I've known, like, oh, yeah, he's QB1. But he is truly QB1. And not just QB1, but, like, moving forward, it's like, hey, this is our guy. Now, I know kind of in the background, right, in the background, you see my kitchen, but in the background of the 49ers, there's this kind of like guy kind of like popping his head up over. Y'all play that game back in the day at the arcades where, the little hamster thing or the groundhog kind of pops his head up and then you got to try to smack it down, but it's kind of like pops up in different holes. I feel like that's Kirk Cousins, right? Where it's like you start to hear, like, oh, he's probably not about to sign. They're not talking about contract extensions with Kirk Cousins and the Vikings. And then you see this situation going on with the 49ers. They move on from Lance. They don't have a lot invested in Brock Purdy, and it's still kind of a small sample size. I get it. A lot of people are like really all in on Brock Purdy, and I think he did a terrific job last year. I'm curious to see, like, is it sustainable? Does he continue to play at that type of level? If he doesn't play at that level, what does it look like? If some of these interceptions get caught, what does it look like? And I don't want to be that person that say, like, well, he would have been like this if he would have thrown the interception, but then, he did, but then they dropped it, so it didn't look like it. Like, no. They dropped the motherfucking interception, so, like, you can't count it. They dropped the ball, okay? So it worked out in the 49ers' favor. I think he did some things really good. Now, projecting it moving forward, do they continue to have that kind of luck with some of the dropped interceptions and things like that? And if they don't have that same type of luck, what does it look like in the sense of the game, the flow, and things like that? I'd say early on right now, and we got a chance to watch Brock Purdy in the preseason game, I thought it was smooth. I thought it was good. It's interesting hearing the broadcast with Tim Ryan and Greg Papa because you see them, I don't want to say propping Purdy up, but okay, let's just talk about this game, right? And I actually had no intention of really going into the game, but Brock Purdy comes in and it's very clear right away, man, he's sharp. The way he sees the field, I think the way he sees it, he's able to execute that at a high level. That's what it looks like to me. He dropped back. A lot of the quick stuff, it's there, it's open, boom, I'm comfortable, I'm going to hit it. And shout out to the offensive line. I thought the O-line was really good. You watched them week 1, then week 2, week 3. I thought week 3 was the best version of the offensive line. They were terrific throughout the entire game, not just with the first group without Trent Williams, but moving forward, like, man, they're good. Opening up running lanes for the running backs and things like that. All right, but we'll get to them a different time. But Brock Purdy, what I was saying, man, you see him just over the middle, boom, 5-yard throw, 7-yard throw. He understands where to go with the ball. He's doing a terrific job of that. When he needs to make plays with his legs, he did that. There were a couple throws that I thought were not great throws at all. And when you listen to the broadcast people, it's like they kind of I don't want to say made excuses for him, but they kind of pinned it on somebody else. I'm like, no, listen, Brock Purdy is terrific. He's doing his thing. He looks good. If he misses a throw, he misses a throw. Like, you can say that. It's okay. He doesn't have to be perfect. He threw a ball to the sideline, Deebo Samuel. I'd have to watch the all 22, but it looked like Deebo, from what I saw, at least the end of the other play, looked like Deebo was open. And he airmailed the ball, 5-10 yards out of bounds. And then there was a throw to Brandon Ayuk where he ran like a curl route. He sat down in the soft spot of the defense. He's sitting here, and all of a sudden, Purdy misses. He throws a poor pass. He throws it too far inside to where you have a guy who's sitting in a soft spot, and all of a sudden he has to randomly dive to the left and it's high off the mark, and it kind of goes off his hands. And they're like, routine play by Ayuk. And it's like, no, that was a terrible pass. It's bad location. Now, if you want to say, hey, I just expect Ayuk to make that play regardless, then okay. But it was bad location. It was poor. And you had a guy sitting there, and then he threw a ball, and it was a poor location. Like, it's okay. The thing that worried me the most was anything with that play, or I don't even know about the Deebo or whatever, but we know that he likes to work a certain area of the field. And I think when he works within that, and if he continues to work with, like, this is who I am, I think he's going to be fine. Right? Where he could potentially get in trouble is, I think, the more he kind of like tries to make the drive throws. And there are a lot of people that have talked about his arm strength or lack thereof. And for me, the arm strength, and I've always said this, I said two things, right? One, you don't need to be fast until you need to be fast. And I think we were talking about Jair Brown a lot. And people were like, oh, it doesn't matter that he ran a 4.65. Like, he does this and he does that. It's like, yeah, but until you need to like run fast. And when you looked at the 49ers defense with Kelly, broke up the middle, boom, bounce outside, and outruns an entire San Francisco 49ers defense for a 75-yard touchdown. Kelly, running back for the Chargers, like, he's not a speedster, but he outran everybody. Why? Because you don't need to be fast until you need to be fast. Well, and they didn't have nobody that could be fast. But when you look at the, from the other side, as far as the arm, right? And sometimes when you have to overcompensate for maybe not having, the biggest of arms, you try to put more on it, and maybe it's a little too much, right? So that's just something to keep an eye on as it pertains to Brock Purdy and his drive throws, right? The throws where maybe the feet can't be perfect, but I still have to kind of drive this ball 15 to 20 yards. What does it look like? Or maybe, I kind of see something late and I have to fire it, and, can I still put enough on it to where I get it there, accurately to a receiver? And those are the things I would continue to watch for. But outside of that, when Snead says Drew Brees, and you watch the way that he plays, it's like, I can see it. Now, he talked about a whole lot of stuff that Brees does off of the field. I think there are also a lot of comparisons on the field as well. All right. But off the field, he just talked about the way that he prepared, the way that you see him do things, whether it's, after practice or his mindset and things like that. We've heard a lot about that from players. That's why they're not worried about, you hear a lot about the turnovers in practice, the interceptable passes, and they're like, man, we ain't worried about that. Like, dude's a baller. He's a gamer. And then you watch him on the field, and I think there's some Drew Brees comparisons just in the sense of, not being the biggest guy in stature, being able to move around some, but the efficiency, especially early on. So I think he's going to continue to be that guy. I'm excited to see what that looks like. Can he expand on some of the things that we've seen from, again, the drive throws? I would like to see that and what that looks like. And again, everything that we're looking for right now as it pertains to Brock Purdy is he the long-term guy? Like, do they have their guy? I'd say right now it's trending towards, man, he's done some really good stuff. Is he worth committing to long-term? I think this is the year you find that out. So obviously there's a lot of people that's really excited about Brock Purdy, what he is. The players are really excited. Again, we just heard the Snead, soundbite and what that sounds like. And that sounds like a guy who probably hopes he's around to be a 49er to continue to play with Brock Purdy. But yeah, I'm excited to see, hey, man, does it continue to look good like it did last year? Because it almost felt like it was like the perfect storm until it wasn't, right? Well, I mean, it wasn't. It was, towards the elbow up. So let's continue to keep an eye on that. And love it. Love the comments from his teammates, and love so far what I've seen from him in the preseason.